What is up, guys? Rick Kakis here, and today we're going to be showcasing some brand new Anthem gameplay courtesy of the Anthem World Premiere event hosted by EA Game Changers, so thank you to EA for providing for my flights and accommodations. Now, in this video we're going to be showcasing something a little bit different than normal, because usually we're out there with javelins in the wild in missions, free play, killing stuff, and if you want to see stuff getting killed, definitely check out my previous video where we take down 4 different massive titans. But again, in this video we're not really going to be killing anything. In fact, we're going to focus on a totally different aspect of Anthem, and that is the story and social components of the game. Firstly, for the social components, something that certainly surprised me is that Anthem is actually going to have a social space. Now, previously, this was, in fact, denied, that Anthem had a somewhat antisocial space with Fort Tarsus. You would go in as an individual, you couldn't have other people there, and then you would do conversations, get missions, and do all of the story aspects of the game. But now, Anthem is actually going to have a social space, and you're seeing it in the background. Now, it's called the Launch Bay. It's somewhere you go after and between missions, and it is a true social space. Not only will you go in here with your fire team members, which you can see in the background, but random people, whether they're solo or a part of completely different fire teams, can load in here as well, up to 12 people in total. So if you don't like the built-in matchmaking systems, you can matchmake the old-fashioned way, see whose javelin looks the coolest and try to convince them to join your party. But in this launch bay, there's also a lot of very convenient things. There's a bunch of different forges that will let you customize your javelin, put on new weapons, new gear, all of that stuff. And again, there's a bunch there, so multiple people can be using them at the same time. There's also a bunch of shops, stores, and vendors that can be very convenient as well. And it's got 2 exits. One will continue expeditions, you can go on your next mission, and the other will bring you to Fort Tarsus. And I think this was a really good idea. Not only does it bring the social aspect to Anthem, this is a game that has a ton of customization. Like, I'll show in the background just how in-depth the paint system is. You can have so many different layers, even different textures to that paint, all of that stuff, and you want to show off what you've created. So being able to load into a social space and be the coolest looking person in the room is a very good feeling. But in a much more practical sense, I think the launch bay is going to be very useful for the end game. It's kind of a one-stop shop for, again, the forge, vendors, and so on. Now you can get all that done very quickly, go out to your next mission, or take on your next stronghold, whereas without this you'd have to go to Fort Tarsus. It can be somewhat of a long walk between the forge and the vendor and so on. Now, moving on from there, I wanted to touch on some of these story aspects of the game. If you want to remain completely spoiler-free, definitely stop watching now. Nothing I'm going to show is going to be big story spoilers, but still wanted to give that warning. I am finally able to show off some of the conversations you are going to have with other characters in Fort Tarsus, and they're pretty interesting.
My savior. And the reason scars aren't feasting on my liver right this minute. Bloody scars. The spike in their activity has really thrown off my research.
What are you working on exactly?
I'm looking for a lost Arcanist text known as the Elysian Manuscript. It was inscribed by early members of our order and has been lost for generations. Some Arcanists believe that their writings could help us predict the behavior of Shaper instruments. Imagine knowing if a relic will create firestorms or scorpions or shatter you into 1,000 pieces.
We could keep people safe.
Indeed. Every little piece of knowledge we can scrape together helps.
This is something I believe will really come down to personal preference. If you're someone like me who's coming from Destiny, where you don't even have the chance to do conversations like this, to learn more about a character, about an event, about the lore of the game, this all looks awesome. The fact that you can go and talk to Matthias about the Arcanist to learn more about his order, that stuff I wish I could do in Destiny. I gotta go out and find grimoire cards and stuff like that. But if you're someone who is well versed in these story type games. If you're coming from, for example, the Mass Effect series, The Witcher, stuff like that, you may be somewhat disappointed by the story offerings within Anthem. Heck, there's only kind of 2 choices. It doesn't tell you which one is good, which one is evil per se. Like, there's no Renegade or Paragon rating system, anything like that. So that's something that, again, it's really going to depend on where you're coming from. If you're coming from the traditional looter shooters, you're going to see the story and see the story options and go, wow, this is way better than most other looter shooters. But if you're coming from a story background, you might say, wow, this is much worse and lower than other BioWare games, perhaps. So again, it's personal preference. I think they've split it pretty well down the middle with, you know, a story for a looter shooter. Now, in terms of voice acting and facial animations, which is a big issue now, both I think are pretty darn good, as you can see in the background. Like, it isn't outrageously bad and weird like Mass Effect Andromeda. There's a couple of different levels of voice acting and facial animations within Anthem. Like, if you have a pure cutscene,
I will find an Arcanist and perform a full protocol inspection on this unit.
There's nothing wrong with the chair, is there?
No.
Why are you always stirring up trouble?
What are you talking about? I've just done her a massive favor. You've got no idea how boring it is being a Fort Cypher. She does not get to work with a freelancer. She does not get to see the world through the eyes of a Javelin pilot. No. You know what she gets to do? She gets to relay official messages back and forth to ciphers at the Capitol day after day after day.
Some people like boring.
it's excellent. Like, it looks amazing how good and how well rendered those facial animations are, and the voice acting is superb. All of that stuff is very superb in the cutscenes I've seen. What we're kind of showing here, though, is just the normal conversations, which you are going to be doing a lot more of with these certain characters. Now, in terms of the quality of the story, I can't comment too much on that. Of course, I haven't beaten the game or anything like that, but from what I have seen, it ranges from actually genuinely fascinating and I want to learn more to a little bit cringy, and that's depending on the mission, the character you're talking to, etc. But I mean, that's to be expected. That's video games in general, to be honest. Frankly, I haven't really seen any red flags in terms of the story just yet. The one thing I do hope, however, is that they don't try to be too cryptic, almost a la Destiny 1. There's a lot of mystery in the world of Anthem. These Shaper relics, who are the Shapers, where they're from, all of this stuff. I hope they give you some answers by the end of the story and don't just keep everything one big mystery, constantly promising a little bit more answers but never really giving them. And that's frankly how a lot of Destiny stories unfolded. We never truly got answers to the questions we were asking. In any event, that is it for the video, a look at some of the social and story aspects of Anthem. Hope you guys enjoyed, found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Anthem content in the future, be sure to slap that subscribe button. And if you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below. Again, hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.